Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. I'm sure that many of you have been exposed to narcissistic individuals who come across with very strong bullying tendencies. It's like whenever you say something or do something that's not consistent with what they want, they turn it into a competition, and you are the opponent who has to be defeated. You're the one who has to be squelched. We've got to take care of you. We've got to teach you a lesson. That's how they do it. And I've spoken with so many individuals who will say, "Oh, that's my father. Whenever I was growing up, if I just had a unique thought or preference, he would come down on me with vengeance." Or that was my mother. She would do the same kind of thing, constantly coming against me. Some of you can say, "Well, I had a sibling that was like that." Many people will say, "Oh, there's this person at work that nobody wants to do anything with because he or she is so mean," and they turn people into targets. Sometimes it's your life partner. You're thinking, "Well, when I first committed to this person, I had no idea that competition was going to be so strong inside the relationship. But as soon as I show my differentness, I'm the opponent. I'm the one that has to be taken down." That's how they do it. And when they go into their bullying behavior, there are very predictable behaviors that they will emit. For example, they can offer verbal harassment, constantly coming at you with criticism, lots of insults, ridiculing and mocking. They're very well known for having overpowering opinions. It's one thing to say, "Here's what I believe," and it's another thing to say, "You have to believe like I do or else it's going to be curtains for you." They can argue with a tree stump. They can argue over trivia, and it doesn't take much to trigger them. They will invalidate very easily. They constantly interrupt you and just let you know what you think is no good. You need to listen and defer to me. They can use sarcasm. Their anger is typically very aggressive, and then when they pull back on the aggressive, then they can be powerfully passive aggressive. And they feel like they have to give you payback if you don't go along with whatever their agenda says. That's not a very good way to live, and I know that as you have to deal with something like that, it's like this is not the life I signed up for. Now, a very interesting question that I have been asked many times over is particularly related to these individuals is, are all narcissists people who have a background of trauma? Is that what's going on? Are these people so traumatized with life that they just come at other people in this competitive, "I'll grind you into the ground" kind of mindset? And the answer is, well, you have to learn it from somewhere. And so many times these individuals have themselves been exposed to strong bullying kinds of individuals. And they may have very well been on the receiving end of lots of harsh treatment. They may have been rejected or condemned or punished for being too unique or too distinct. And so, yes, some of them have experienced some trauma. Other times, it's not necessarily the case. I mean, sometimes you have the golden child who grows up to become the bully, or you have the person that everybody seems to like, but then they kind of start think of themselves as a little too special, and so they just feel like they have to bring people into their sphere of influence. And so it can vary from one person to the next. But let's just say that when you have somebody who comes toward you with this bullying, "I'm now your opponent" kind of a mindset, it's important to realize this is their number one coping skill. Life doesn't give me what I want. I feel misunderstood. There's some things that I just feel very strongly about. Therefore, if you think differently, I'm going to let you know it's not that I think you're wrong. You are against me. And I'm going to have to protect me by pummeling you. And they think very much in terms of that win, lose, high, low kind of mindset. And their underlying thinking pattern is extremely pessimistic. I mean, when they approach you, particularly if you show a certain differentness to them, their mindset says, their pessimism says, well, this proves you're a screw up. People in front of me, they just don't know how to do life. You don't think you don't think right. In other words, you don't think like me. And then they think, well, because you're such a screw up and because you don't think like me, you need my influence. Go figure on that one. You just don't know that you need my influence, so it becomes my task to let you know that we have to rid you of you and fill you of me. And they try to gain the upper hand over you so that you can't gain any kind of upper hand over them. So there's a paranoia that's built into this. Now, as we consider the possibility of these bullies on the inside of you, I want you to just think, what's going on beneath the surface? I mean, they want you to think that you're the problem, which is why they have to come against you. But there's certain questions that I just like to ask when I'm confronted with scenarios such as what I've described here so far. For example, one of the questions I would ask is this an emotionally stable and secure person? Now, the answer is overwhelmingly obvious, isn't it? When you come across as a strong bully, it says you're terribly insecure. You're definitely not emotionally stable. Or another question, what modeling have you been exposed to that caused you to think, yeah, this is the way I want to go? And it can come from various sources. For example, in the way that you were brought up with parents, or it may be that you were in sports, or it may be that you were in social scenarios where one group outed or othered other people. It could be that you've had all sorts of people that have said, the toughest one is the one who wins. What pain is that person carrying? You don't bully other individuals because you're really feeling good about life. So, where's this pessimism coming from? And what is it that you have experienced that caused you to have such a pervasively negative way of life? Or another question, what does this person not want you to know about himself or herself? Because they love it when you're vulnerable because they'll pounce on you. It's like, oh, I'm going to be so much the winner. But they absolutely cannot be vulnerable themselves, which is why they come on so overpowering. So what does this tell us that you're carrying on the inside that you don't want anybody to know? And typically, they don't want to admit it to themselves, but they tend to live with a lot of fear and shame. Or another question, and this is one that, I don't know, it just gets to me really bad. And that is, what do they gain by your demise? What are you hoping to accomplish? I'll give you a simple example. I've heard stories such like a mother who has a little child that says the wrong thing, so the mother shoves a bar of soap into that child's mouth. And we're not talking about ignorant, no good kind of individuals. We're talking about educated people. Why would you do something like that? Or a father or a spouse or a coworker that just hurls one input after another. Why do you take delight in demeaning someone else like that? Now, for you, when you know that the bullying is going to come, it's just a matter of time, then that leaves another question, and that is, how are you going to interpret their moments when they're pleasant or when they're friendly? Because it's like, well, it's just a cover because it's on the way. And so does that just say that their pleasantness is just phony baloney? It's kind of the way I lean. Or what is it about your uniqueness that's so threatening? Well, why can't they just come and say, you think differently from me? Maybe I can learn from you. You won't hear that from the bully because you see you're the opponent. Or why is compromise so off the table? It's like, well, if I lay down some of my preferences and kind of flow with you, there's a certain give and take in relationships. They can't go that way. Is this person truly oblivious? If so, how did that happen? They got no insight whatsoever. And if they're not oblivious, what does that tell us? And it's purposeful, and it's part of a well-developed scheme. So you can see that when a person comes towards life with this bullying mindset, these individuals are dreadfully afraid of appearing irrelevant. They know next to nothing about love or honor and dignity, and they have no clue about positive traits like encouragement or kindness or compassion. You're not going to see that from these individuals on any kind of sustained level whatsoever. Now, we could have a heyday as we try to psychoanalyze all these individuals, but the bottom line is when you're in the presence of a bully who has to turn you into an opponent, you're in the presence of a very toxic person. And then I'm hoping you can remind yourself there is no good reason in the world for me to take my cues from someone who's that unhealthy. So when you know that that's what you're dealing with, then you have certain challenges. Number one is pull as far away from that person as you can. This person will be chronically unsafe and have the least amount of interaction that's possible with that individual. Then you want to ponder separately, what is it about me that the narcissist does not comprehend? And then can I nonetheless embrace my distinctions and my uniqueness? And then that leads to another, and that is, what does assertiveness look like when you're with that person? And part of it means, just like I said, becoming separate. Sometimes you'll need to confront them and let them know that whatever they're doing is not working. They're going to try to argue and pull you in, but you can use what I refer to as your calm confidence. You don't have to defend, but you can go ahead and live out your actions and live out your assertiveness with your consequences, with your priorities, with your stipulations. Be your own person, and if they don't like it, it's like, yeah, right, you're a bully. You're trying to turn me into an opponent, and I'm not going to buy that. And then, of course, you have to ask, well, should I even stay in this relationship whatsoever? I'm hoping that as you see this bullying pattern in front of you, you can decide, you know what, I can do so much better than this. That person has to have me as their opponent. But you see, I don't think that way. I don't think in terms of who's the winner and who's the loser. The bottom line is I respect myself. I respect goodness. And I trust myself. That's something the bully narcissist doesn't comprehend, but I'm going to stake my life upon those healthy ingredients. And I hope that videos like this can give you some good food for thought. And my heart goes out to you as you deal with something like this. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Thank you for allowing me to be on your journey with you. Now, you know that I'm a huge proponent of psychotherapy. When you're dealing with something as significant as this, you could probably use some help. We've been sponsored for years by the folks at betterhelp.com. They're an online therapy resource. There's a link below the video that will take you to their website. You can answer a few questions and select a therapist. And I'm hoping you could be paired with somebody that can really help you work through this. As the need is there, please go through the link and get the assistance that that would be so warranted. Now, I also invite you to go to my website. And on my website, we have lots of resources, primary being my courses. I have one on anger called Anger Games, one on boundaries called This Is Me, and one on finding yourself despite another person's control called Free to Be, one on having healthy connection skills called Ready, Set, Connect. We have webinars that are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations, articles, my books. So we have lots of resources. That's my deep history, and that's what I bring to you. Avail yourself to that as the need would be there. My heart goes out to you as you have to contend with these kind of individuals. Even that word contend, that implies a type of conflict there, that there's winners and there's losers. We don't really need to think that way, and I'm hoping you can separate yourself off. And in doing so, I'm hoping you can position yourself to be a person of peace that the bully certainly has none of. But nonetheless, I hope you can distinguish yourself as being a person that says, I'm going to go into a much better direction.